only in Bangkok can you be walking down the middle of an alleyway and I can literally barely hear my own thoughts because there's motorcycles everywhere, including right behind me, and
about to die.
Bigfoot also. And we're literally finding, well, how many vipers did we find? 15, 16 vipers, insane amounts of vipers. And we're coming up on a really cool spot right now. There's a, what is it, a temple where there's supposed to be snakes that eat things out of people's hands?
The Cobra Temple.
The Cobra Temple. So Chris told us that there's cobras there that are eating stuff, so I think he's probably off his rocker, but let's go take a look anyway. Okay, so I guess it's real. I can't even really believe what I'm looking at right now. There's a monocle cobra hanging out with a reticulated python. So basically, we're at this temple, this Buddhist temple, and we walked up, and you take your shoes off, and you walk in, and there's people praying in here. There's movies playing outside. We're 25 feet, 20 feet from a roadway, and you look out these open windows, and you look down, and there's a monocle cobra just chowing down on chicken. Literally, we're talking about just chicken from a grocery store that's been thrown out of this window, and I think he's on number 7 now. And then we've got this retic as well. Now, we found something super cool, that the retic isn't too fond of the cobra, but the cobra is really fond of the retic, actually too fond because he bit him twice. However, what's really cool is reticulated pythons are at least partially immune to the venom of monocle cobra. So these are different cobras that we found in Bali. In Bali, we found king cobras. And although they are a similar type of venom, it's not really the same venom, and it's not quite as potent either. Either way, we're safe from up here. I honestly can't believe what I'm looking at. This is one of those things you see on National Geographic, maybe filmed a little bit more beautifully than what I'm doing right now. And you wonder to yourself, how on earth did they catch this moment? And that's exactly what we're looking at right now. Monocle cobras and reticulated pythons literally being hand-fed in a temple on the busiest highway in Bangkok, inside of a Buddhist temple. So we came up on this pipe snake right in the middle of the road. And what's really interesting about snakes like this that I really like is he's not super defensive. His defense mechanism actually is to flatten out kind of and show the red on his tail, because red in nature is gonna say, I'm dangerous, I'm venomous, leave me alone. Now you guys know that I've got a lot of dart frogs, and it's the same sort of mimicry, or not really mimicry, but same sort of defense mechanism where you're showing that I'm toxic and I'm gonna kill you if you take a bite from me. But it won't, because it's not venomous and it's definitely not poisonous, and this animal is not going to hurt you at all. In fact, it doesn't want to bite me, it doesn't want to flee away from me all that much, and I don't really know much about these snakes. I wasn't expecting to find them, and I didn't even know they were here, but this is a pipe snake. So in Bangkok, you're going to find 2 types of vipers. You're going to find the white lips that we found in Bali and that we found here today, and also you're going to find the big eye vipers. Now the big eye vipers are a similar coloration but a little bit more blue, and I want to say right up front you're going to see some B-roll here where maybe there's a pair of hands a little bit too close. They are not in my hands. Chris is an expert, I am not, and that's why he's holding the snake and I'm screaming at this camera. I will say that they do have those red tails, same sort of idea for luring. Just like the white lip pit vipers, they're going to use their tails for luring in prey as well, and they've got these giant eyes, and that's why they're called big eye pit vipers. They are arboreal snakes, although we found this one on the ground. They don't get super big, and their bite isn't very bad in terms of venomous snakes, but at the end of the day, they are a front fang venomous snake. This is a venomous snake that's going to pump venom into you like a hypodermic needle. It's not like a hognose snake or like a vine snake. This is a real bite. So unless you like going to hospitals or getting very swollen hands, don't do what Chris is. Also, Chris is an expert and I'm not. So anyway,
I'm
Chris.
not touching him.
Yeah, no, yet.
Well, I touched him already.
Yeah, well, he's pretty.
That's enough for the day.
Anyway, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. I think there's something to be said about the eyes of snake catchers. Dave, I wanted your light, though.
Oh, sorry.
Can you help me? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I think there's something to be said about the eyes. This is the sun. It's about the same temperature as the surface of the sun, so this actually works. I think that there's something to be said about the experience level of actually finding these animals, because we've got Chris over here, and he's looking up in these trees and telephone poles, and there's just an Asian water monitor up here that Dave is so geeked about that he does 37 takes about it, and I think I can't really blame him, because it's like the coolest thing ever. We saw at Lupini Park, we saw how many of them? 478?
452,000.
Right, so to see one of these like up here like this, just it's the craziest thing. I never thought I'd see an Asian water monitor that big, that high up. And all right, Dave, thanks for being the light guy. You're hired now.
No worries. And just for the record, that was more like 87 takes, which is, you know, average for me.
Art is art, buddy.
It is.
found exactly what we came here to look for. This is a tentacle snake. Now, I'm not an expert by any means on this snake, but I can tell you one thing. It has tentacles at the front of its face, and that's why it's called a tentacle snake. Now, the jury's out. We don't know. It could be using these tentacles for luring fish. It could be to feel around in these dark, murky waters. We're not exactly sure, but what I am sure about is it feels weird. It has these weird scales. It barely moves. It's not going to be a little bit flighty or bitey. And the reason is because it does have a rear fang venom, but the fangs are very short and they're at the very back of the mouth. So even if they did get you, you're not a fish, and therefore you're not going to have to worry about it because their venom is specifically designed to stop fish from swimming. Now, sea crates do this same sort of thing. If you get bit by a sea crate, it's going to be a bad day. These things are going to act very, very fast. A sea crate is going to kill you. A tentacle snake is not. So just like how a hognose snake, if it's going to bite you, maybe you'll get a little bit itchy. I don't even know if this would do that to you. But either way, I would never hold a venomous snake. I would never do that, not with my hands anyway. And although this is a venomous snake, it's definitely a harmless snake. Probably the weirdest thing on the planet, if it even comes from this planet. If you told me that a spaceship dropped this thing down and it bred with another snake and made this, that's exactly what I would guess it is too. This is a tentacled snake, the coolest thing that I've seen so far in Southeast Asia. One last thing about tentacle snakes is that they're live-bearing animals, and this thing is clearly gravid. I picked this thing up, I knew it was gravid, and as soon as Chris pulled it out of the water, it looks like it just ate a cat. So I imagine that this thing, like Chris said, probably 7, maybe 8 babies. These things are generally gonna have somewhere around that. 13 is the max that we know of anyway. So maybe this might be the most snakes to ever come out of a tentacle snake because this thing looks rather large. What we found here is a sunbeam snake. Now in the US, in Canada, in Europe, these are some of the most popular pets because they look so unique, and they look unique under a certain type of light, or under any light really. These guys are gonna look like an oil slick. Now this is called iridescence. This is one of those things that you're gonna find in like a Brazilian rainbow boa or snakes like that. So the idea is that the sun is going to shine on their scales. They've got these special grooves in these scales that kind of change the way that the light bends. Just like when you look out of a prism. When you look out of a prism or look into a prism, you see something like a rainbow. So these guys here, they're going to be fossorial animals, which is kind of mind-blowing because they're not really going to see much of the light of day in the first place. So why they have this adaptation, I don't really know. Maybe there's an explanation of it, but they are snake-eating snakes. And what's crazy is we're finding these on the side of a highway. This is one of the busiest highways in all of Bangkok. We're about 10 feet away from that temple that I'm going to show you. This guy here, he's out cruising around. He's looking for things like pit vipers, which we've already found a few of, and he's probably going to musk on you instead of bite you. So I think I'm gonna let this guy go. I'm so glad I got to see one of these guys in the wild. Sunbeam snakes are on the bucket list for any herper and most people who want to keep them in captivity too. I'm so glad I got to see one of these guys in person. This had to be the coolest night of herping that I got to do, and I got to do it with my buddies Chris Sweet and Dave Kaufman here, and I am just so glad. We found what, sunbeam snake at the very end?
Sunbeam snake, pipe snakes.
787 vipers.
Yeah, but both kinds of vipers that are found here in Bangkok.
So we have white lip vipers. We found the big eye vipers, which have big eyes.
Big eyes.
I just am so happy that we had the opportunity to do this right here in Bangkok. We're literally filming this outro in the middle of a store 10 feet away from where we found that sunbeam snake. And I might be exaggerating, might be less than that. So, final thoughts, boys?
This was probably the best night herping that I've ever had in Thailand, and this is my 3rd trip here. This was outstanding.
So I want to say thanks. Chris, thanks for taking us.
Oh, no worries, man. Anytime.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And Dave, thanks for setting this up.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And yeah, I want to say thanks to you for watching the video. If you like more herping videos like this, I've got a couple more. All you have to do is hit the like button, hit subscribe if you want to. I really appreciate it. As always, a special thanks to the Patreon supporters. For as little as $1 a month, you guys get extra videos. You got me and Dave were kind of goofing around at restaurants and stuff.
And we weren't goofing around. We actually ate at a condom-themed restaurant. It did happen, and it is awesome.
And it's only on Patreon. So if you want all that stuff and more for as little as $1 a month, link in the description. And because we do videos twice a week, that means that I'll see you in the next one. Rattle on!